My name is ArvindGupta and I'm a toy maker. I've been making toys for the last 30 years. The early 70s, I was in college. It was a very revolutionary time. There was a political ferment, so to say, students out in the streets of Paris revolting against authority. America was jolted by the anti-Vietnam movement, the civil rights movement. In India, we had the Naxalite movement, the Jaipur Narayan movement. Whenever there is a political churning of society, it unleashes a lot of energy. The national movement in India was testimony to that. Lots of people resigned from well-paid jobs and jumped into the national movement. Now, in the early 70s, one of the great programs in India was to revitalize primary science in village schools. There was a person, Anil Sadgopal, did a PhD from Caltech and returned back as a molecular biologist in India's cutting research institute, the TIFR. At 31, he was not able to relate the kind of esoteric research which he was doing with the lives of the ordinary people. So he resigned and went and started a village science program. Many people were inspired by this. The slogan of the early 70s was, go to the people, live with them, love them, start from what they know, build on what they have. And this was the kind of defining slogan. Well, I took 1 year, I joined Telco, make Tata trucks, very close to Pune. I worked there for 2 years and I realized that I was not born to make trucks. Often one doesn't know what one wants to do, but it's good enough to know what you don't want to do. So I took 1 year off and I went to this village science program, and which was a turning point. It was a very small village, a weekly bazaar where people just once in a week, they put in all their wares. So I said, I'm going to spend a year over here. So I just bought one specimen of everything which was sold on the roadside. And one thing which I found was this black rubber. This is called as a cycle valve tube, where you pump in a bicycle, use a bit of this. And there's some of these models. So if you take a bit of the cycle valve tube, you can put 2 matchsticks inside this, and you make a flexible joint. It's a joint of 2. You start by teaching angles, an acute angle, a right angle, a obtuse angle, a straight angle. It's like a universal. This was, make a joint of 6, you make a icosahedron. It's like, you can play around with it. This makes like an igloo. Now this is in 1978. I was a 24-year-old young engineer. And I thought this is so much better than making trucks. and this is, if you, as a matter of fact, put 4 marbles inside, you simulate the molecular structure of methane, CH4, 4 atoms of the hydrogen, the 4 apex of the tetrahedron, between is a little carbon atom. And well, since then, I just thought that I've been really privileged to go down to over 2,000 schools in my country, village schools, government schools, municipal schools, Ivy League schools. I've been invited by most of them. And every time I go to a school, I see a gleam in the eyes of the children. I see hope. I see happiness in their faces. Children want to make things. Children want to do things. Now we make lots and lots of pumps. Now this is a little pump with which you could inflate a balloon. It's a real pump. You could actually pop the balloon. And we have a slogan that the best thing a child can do with the toy is to break it. So all you do is to just, it's a very kind of provocative statement. It's an old bicycle tube, and this is based on a chance discovery. If you take these film cans, they go very snugly into an old bicycle tube, and this is how you make a valve. You put a little sticky tape. This is one-way traffic. Well, you make lots and lots of pumps, and this is the other one, that you just take a straw and you just put a stick inside this. And you make 2 half cuts. Now what you do is you bend both these legs into a triangle and you just wrap some tape around, and this is the pump. And now if you have this pump, it's like a great, great sprinkler. It's like a centrifuge. If you spin something, it tends to fly out. Well, in terms of if you were in Andhra Pradesh, you would make this with the palmyra leaf. Many of our folk toys have great science principles. If you spin something, it tends to fly out. If I do it with both hands, you can see this one, Mr. Flying Man. Right? This is a toy which is, this is made from paper. It's amazing. There are 4 pictures. You see insects, you see frogs, snakes, eagles, butterflies, frogs, snakes, eagles. Here's a paper which you could turn. It's designed by a mathematician at Harvard in 1928, Arthur Stone, documented by Martin Gardner in many of his many books. This is great fun for children. They all study about the food chain, that insects are eaten by the frogs, frogs are eaten by the snakes, snakes are eaten by the eagles. And this can be, if you had an old photocopy paper, A4 size paper, you could be in a municipal school, you could be in a government school, a paper, a scale, and a pencil. No glue, no scissors. In 3 minutes, you just fold this up. And what you could use it is just limited by your imagination. If you take a smaller paper, you make a smaller flexagon. With a bigger one, you make a bigger one. Now this is a pencil with a few slots over here, and you put a little fan here. This is a 100-year-old toy. There have been 6 major research papers on this. There's some grooves over here, you can see, and I take a refill. If I rub this, something very amazing happens. 6 major research papers on this. As a matter of fact, Feynman, as a child, was very fascinated by this. He wrote a paper on this. And you don't need the $3 billion Hadron Collider for doing this. This is there with every child, and every child can enjoy this. If you were to put a color disk, well, all the 7 colors coalesce. And this is what Newton talked about 400 years back, that white light is made of 7 colors, just by spinning this around. This is a straw. What we've done, we've just sealed both the ends with tape, nipped the right corner and the bottom left corner. So there are holes in the opposite corners. There's a little hole over here. Now this is a kind of a blowing straw. I just put this inside this. There's a hole here, and I shut this. This costs very little money to make, great fun for children to do. What we do is a very simple electric motor. Now, this is the simplest motor on earth. The most expensive thing is the battery inside this. If you have a battery, it costs 5 cents to make it. This is the old bicycle tube, which gives you a broad rubber band, 2 safety pins. This is a permanent magnet. Whenever current flows through a coil, this becomes electromagnet. It's the interaction of both these magnets which makes this motor spin. Made 30,000. Teachers who've been teaching science for donkey years, they just mug up the definition and they spit it out. When teachers make it, children make it, you can see a gleam in their eye. They get a thrill of what science is all about. And this science is not a richy man's game. In a democratic country, science must reach to our most oppressed, to the most marginalized children. Now, this program started with 16 schools and spread to 1,500 government schools. Over 100,000 children learn science this way. And we're just trying to see possibilities with, look, this is the Tetra Pak. Awful material from the point of view of the environment. There are 6 layers, 3 layers of plastic, aluminum, which are sealed together. They're fused together, so you can't separate them. Now you can just make a little network like this and fold them and stick them together and make an icosahedron. So something which is trash, which is choking all the sievers, you could just recycle this into a very, very joyous. All the platonic solids could be made with things like this. This is a little straw, and what you do is you just nip 2 corners here, and this becomes like a baby crocodile's mouth. Put this in your mouth and you blow. It's the children's delight, a teacher's envy, as they say. You're not able to see how the sound is produced because the thing which was vibrating was inside my mouth. I'm going to keep this outside, so blowing out. I'm going to suck in air. So no one needs to actually mug up that for production of sound we require vibrations. The other is that you keep blowing at it, keep making the sound, and you keep cutting it, and something very, very nice happens. And when you get a very small one, this is what the kids teach you. You can also do this. Well, before I go any further, this is something worth sharing. This is a touching slate meant for blind children. This is strips of Velcro. This is my drawing slate. And this is my drawing pen, which is basically a film box. It's basically like a fisherman's line. A fishing line. And this is wool over here. If I crank the handle, all the wool goes inside. And what a blind child can do is to just draw on this. Wool sticks on Velcro. There are 12 million blind children in our country who live in a world of darkness. And this has come as a great boon to them. There's a factory out there making our children blind. We're not able to provide them with food, not able to provide them with vitamin A, but this has come as a great boon for them. There are no patents, anyone can make it. Well, in the end, I'll just end with a story. This is called as the captain's hat story. Captain was a captain of a seagoing ship. Goes very slowly. There were lots of passengers in the ship. They were getting bored, so the captain invited them on the deck. Wear all your colorful clothes and sing and dance. I'll provide you with good food and drinks. And the captain would wear a cap every day and join in the regalia. The first day it would be a huge umbrella cap, like a captain's cap. That night, when the passenger would be sleeping, he would give it one more fold. And the second day, he would be wearing a fireman's cap with a little chute. It's like a designer cap because it protects the spinal cord. And the second night, he would take the same cap and give it another fold. And the third day, it would be a shikari cap. It's like a adventurer's cap. And the third night, he would give it two more folds. And this is a very, very famous cap. If you've seen any of our Bollywood films, this is what the policeman wears. It's called as a Pandu cap. It's been catapulted to international glory. And we must not forget that he was the captain of the ship. So that's a ship. And now everyone was enjoying the journey very much. They were singing and dancing. Suddenly there's a storm. And there's huge waves. And all the ship can do is to dance and pitch along with the waves. A huge wave comes and slaps the front and knocks it down. And then another one comes and slaps the aft and knocks it down. And there's a third one over here. This is called as a bridge, and knocks it down. And the ship sinks, and the captain has lost everything but for a life jacket. Thank you so much.